I am Billy Crago with the Chamber, and so I think I know everybody in here, and I'm really excited today. So I'm really excited for you guys to be here. This is Art, and I will let him introduce himself and talk a little bit about what he's doing.
Thank you, Billy. So as Billy mentioned, my name's Art. I changed my title recently, so sometimes I have to look at the strategic sales and account advisor for Anthem. Back in the day, they used to call me the sales executive, but basically I am the feet on the ground sales contact for all the brokers in Northern Nevada and in some parts of Vegas, but I tend to primarily focus on Northern Nevada. I work with Anthem Blue Cross directly. I've been there for 11 years. I've been in Nevada for 6.5 years now, originally from Southern California. I've had the good fortune of making it up to your guys' community a few times now over the past couple of years. Some of your brokers like Glenn and the ladies over here at A&H, I've worked with them really closely. Or if you work with a couple, get your insurance from another broker in town, chances are I know who they are as well, but we won't, they're not here, so we won't call out their names. But I've heard, just on a quick side note, some really good things, because I'm from a really small town, much smaller than this actually in Southern California. And one of my friends I went to high school with moved up here maybe about 18 years ago, 17 years ago, however long ago we got out of high school. Somewhere in that range to come work up at a gold mine, and I swear all of our friends were like, Elko, Nevada, where is that? Like, where did Pete go? He was working in a gold mine. Like, what is this? Okay, I didn't even know they had those still. So as I've gotten to know your guys' community a little more, it makes sense why I moved up here, because it does remind me a lot of where we came from. Well, but it does remind me a lot of where we came from, and I really appreciated it. Although we're a little smaller, we're maybe have some cities around us a little closer, because I had some giveaways ready for you guys, but they got left in my luggage in Salt Lake. So thankfully, as Billy said, you guys had Kohl's. I have somewhere where I can go get some clothes to change into today. But with that said, and actually skipped over this part, but we have just today's agenda, because I know there's been quite a few questions I've got from a few people. We're gonna, obviously Billy introduced herself, you guys get a chance to know me, but we're gonna go over a few things that I think are important to understand with why we're doing this, in terms of what is an association health plan, why we partnered with the Vegas Chamber and Elko Chamber in particular, because I know obviously the Elko Chamber is really important to us, and one thing I've learned about being in Nevada is almost a quasi rivalry between North and South, so the last thing we want to do is be affiliated with Vegas. We'll touch into that. Why Vegas and thankfully Elko chose to partner with Anthem. Why some of these AHPs might, association health plans, in our industry we use a lot of acronyms, maybe to our own detriment, but AHP, short for association health plans, why the AHPs might be a better option than what you're getting already. And then we'll compare the association health plans, the AHPs, to just what they call the Affordable Care Act plans. ACA plans are, just in layman's terms, just the normal, regular plans that you might have already. In some instances, the AHP is going to be better. You'll see in some instances it won't, but that is depending. And then we'll go over on what we require to write a quote, just so that, I know the AHPs take a little more information than normal. So if your broker asks you for first names and last names or a zip code, you don't look at them with a side eye like, this is too much information, why are you asking me all this? So hopefully, and then we'll have a spot at the end for questions. I don't anticipate I'll take the full time, so we'll go from there. But first and foremost, what is an association health plan? So an association health plan essentially is a collection of small businesses that are rated through a common industry or an association. In this instance, what we did is we take a collection of small groups and we build them together and rate them combined as if they were large groups. So you end up getting a collection of small groups where if you have enough small businesses put together, you have almost the same number of employees that you would with a large company that had 500, 1,000, 3,000 employees. And one complaint you often hear about is how come my husband, my wife, my sister who works for the school district, who works for the government, who works for this XYZ corporation has way better options for their insurance than me as a sole proprietor, than me as a small business owner, and a lot of that is buying power. So essentially what we're doing is an association takes a collection of small groups and takes their combined buying power to create them and rate them like you would get a large group. So you get a lot of the benefits that says the benefits of a large business for your small business. So the bigger the business, the better the stability, and it is specific to industry. So I'm gonna go a little out of order here. So the reason one common question, I was warned in advance, why is the Elko Chamber partnering with the Vegas Chamber? So an association health plan that had, let's say we got a collection of 100 businesses with an average of 5 people. You're talking 500 total employees. A large business with 500 total employees is just barely big enough for us to take their claims seriously, where we can predict them and expect that the costs are going to be kind of fixed, in the sense that, all right, we know what it's going to cost to insure you, we know what it's going to cost to pay your medical bills, so we know what to charge you. Your costs won't fluctuate. You have stable costs, predictable costs. So with a group with just 500 members, that's just the breaking point where we can now almost guarantee accurate, predictable, stable pricing. We've noticed to get 500 members on an association plan, maybe in a community like Elko, maybe we can do it, maybe we can't. But even just doing that in Vegas is difficult enough. Doing that in the Reno area with the Tahoe Chamber is difficult enough. But if we take chambers and we combine them all, our first 2 years we did with Vegas only. The second year we brought on Tahoe, we managed to get around, maybe I'm spilling beans here, but 2,500 members. And that allows us to now accurately project pricing, predict pricing. You won't get big increases. I don't know if some of you have noticed on the small business owners, on your renewals, you might see, over the past couple of years, I've seen some wild 15, 18, 20% increases. You see some years where it's 2, 3, 5%. When you have a larger collection of businesses, a larger collection of people, those wild fluctuations of 2% one year, 20% another year go out the door. So we decided to, and then thankfully Billy was gracious enough to partner up with the Vegas Chamber, so that way we can pool everyone's claim and utilization together to help give the business owners and the small businesses who really do, who really are impacted by, costs, maybe more so than a large employer, some stability and some predictability in their expenses. That way you can put that money back in your pocket, your employee's pocket, reinvest it in your businesses and into the community. So by partnering with the Vegas Chamber, they maybe lift some of the administrative burden, because there was a time when the Trump administration made it so that we can write chamber plans in 2020, and we admittedly wrote one with the Vegas Chamber. We were starting to work with the Carson Chamber. We were excited to do it all over the state. Within a year, in 2021, the Department of Justice ruled that illegal. That law that the Trump administration brought into place, they ruled it illegal. So what we had to do is we had to pivot. We didn't have an association health plan for about 2 years. What we eventually did is there was a law in place where the groups are all part of the same industry. Meaning they're industry specific, they can write it. But the chamber plans, with the reason the Department of Justice made them illegal or outlawed the Trump administration's law, was because they thought groups were getting together just for the purpose of getting health insurance, and that's why they made it legal. But through the existing law, what we did is we created some subcategories. We're getting into some specifics here that basically encompassed every industry, and the chambers are already existing associations, so we were able to put that together. There is a lot of bureaucratic red tape, if you will, where the government has its hands on things, and that's where the Vegas Chamber comes in and takes that burden off. The Elko Chamber takes the burden immediately off. Anthem as well, a little bit, and they deal with all the government bureaucracy, so we can just focus on the costs for your business, for your employees, and for themselves. So, introducing the Vegas Elko Chamber Association health plans. Essentially, the association health plans, they're a cost-saving health plan exclusively for chamber members. So you do have to be a member to buy one. You don't have to be a member, although I assume most of you in this room already are. You don't have to be a member to get a quote, but if you want to enroll in one, you have to be a member. The age groups, as I mentioned, they bring together the multiple employers from similar industries, and locations to unlock kind of benefits usually reserved for large organizations. So everything I mentioned in kind of the last slide. Some of the actual benefits you're gonna see is that we have certain pharmacy benefits. You have plans now, you know, most of the, anybody who's already maybe enrolled in Anthem, you know, Walgreens, for example, is out of network when you buy it through our normal small group plans. Our association health plans use the large group benefits, and large group do have Walgreens in network, so you get access to more pharmacies. And we got a couple mental and behavioral health benefits that are embedded into the use of your Sydney app, that are embedded, which is the mobile app that you can get if you sign up with Anthem. And that we have some well-being and chronic condition programs that are exclusive to what you normally have in a large group plan that you wouldn't get on your small group health plan. Yes.
So you're talking about similar industries. Do you have any industries you do not like?
I have yet to see one. Apparently there is a list of 1% of SIC codes or industries that we don't. There is some gray area for municipalities. That is really the only one, but that is more of a legal gray area where municipalities, so the industries that might be excluded would be anyone who's not required to comply with the risk. But we have yet to run across one because, as we mentioned, our legal team and our product team, when they were putting this together, we created enough categories and committees, if you will, that encompass should be every industry. And I think I have the services and the industries on the second to last slide. So there's no one that should be excluded. You know, but even no matter what category you fall in, it's all gonna fall under the chamber umbrella, just to make life easier on you guys. So typically, again, this is more into the weeds than I get with employers, but I know it's a question like, why would I consider a chamber plan? Why are we putting all this together? I wanted to get into some details, not insult your guys' intelligence or just assume that you're gonna take my word for it. I wanted to give you the history into how we got to this moment. So now that we know a little bit about the chamber plans, why did, you know, Elko and Vegas Chamber, and then the third partner, if you have sister businesses in Reno, the Tahoe Chamber, the three chambers, you know, probably are some of our three most prominent ones in Nevada. Why did they come together and choose Anthem? Well, at 1 in 3 members one in 3 member citizens of the U.S. Are members. We wish there was more, but no. 1 in 3 people in the U.S. have a Blue Cross Blue Shield logo on their insurance card in their pocket. So, and that's not necessarily with Anthem. Anthem, the big common misconception is Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're the same Blue Cross Blue Shield everywhere. Blue Cross Blue Shield, the way I tell people, is sort of like a franchise. Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield is the largest franchise owner, but for example, Utah, they are owned by a different company, they're Regions Blue Cross Blue Shield. So the comparison would be like the Chevy dealership here in Elko might be owned by a different person than the Chevy dealership in Salt Lake. And that doesn't mean you're gonna get a different Chevy, that doesn't mean that they won't have your service history, or it doesn't mean that there won't be some similarities, but ultimately the people in charge of the Chevy dealership, you know, locally versus the Chevy dealership, you know, in another city or another state, they could be running things a little bit differently. We are the largest franchise owner of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, but because we share networks with all of the other franchise owners, like Regions Blue Cross Blue Shield, that ends up meaning that you have access to the Blue Cross Blue Shield providers in Utah. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, they call themselves Regions, sorry. Everyone's usually Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas. Utah uses Regions. So a good thing with Anthem, especially in Elko, our plans do include access to the University of Utah. And that is apparently a sticking point for some people because yeah, if you have a major surgery, major illness that your local doctor can't help you with, you want to make sure you be able to have access to the nearest best hospital to you, and all of our plans have that. And as you'll see, you know, again, with the Blue Cross Blue Shield, it's 100 million members nationwide. 48 million of those are with Anthem, so you know, there's probably 15, 16 other companies. Our company has about half of the total Blue Cross Blue Shield members, the other 14 companies that make up the other half. And 1.7 million doctors and hospitals through the Blue Cross Blue Shield network. And a mental health network that's twice as large as any of our competitors. So throwing some numbers at you guys, it seems like the people in charge and the powers that be did some homework as well in researching the partnership they wanted to be able to offer to members of their community. Here locally, as we mentioned, we do have a small team of boots on the ground. Myself, I'm the person who probably is out in the field the most. But total, we insure 660,000 people in the state of Nevada. And we've been part of Nevada for 58 years with 1,900 plus associates who live and or work in Nevada. These days, most people are working from home, but some of us are still attached to a home office in Vegas. But other than that, we do have some employees scattered throughout the state, but everyone's usually working from home in these cases. So in the state of Nevada, we have over 6,000 doctors contracted. Basically every hospital in the state is contracted as well, so you're never going to run into a situation where your hospital in Nevada is out of network. And one big thing with insurance is that, you maybe hear on the news, anytime you hear an article, or there's always a horror story, but 94.2% of claims that are submitted are paid the first time around. So whenever a doctor is in network, more often than not, the claim is getting paid. So the theory that the big bad insurance companies want to do everything they can to not pay your claims, if that was true, we wouldn't be paying over 90% of their claims for our in-network doctors. So something to keep in mind. You can feel good, feel stable. One of the feedbacks we hear for the most is that and the thing I'm proud of the most is that when members are enrolled with Anthem, they don't tend to have as many problems as they would with anyone else. And having a bit of unfortunate luck myself the past 5-6 years when it comes to health, and being on the Anthem plan, I can tell you I've been very, very, grateful to God and fortunate that Anthem's been there to take care of my hospital bills. I'm not going to collections, I'm not, going into bankruptcy or anything like that with some of these horror stories you hear in the news. So a couple other things as far as Anthem, we're doing our best to, establish local partnerships. Right away I can tell you guys, it was, I can walk in the room, the first person who walked in that I didn't walk in with was Gwen, and I've known Gwen admittedly virtually via email and phone for the past.
Not a dating site.
4 to 6 years. I've been working with the girls over at A&H at their different agencies for, because it's small towns. I'm assuming those of you know them that haven't always been at A&H, but I've known them at most of their stops along the way. So we do our best to make sure we have local partnerships and local representation. And we're really focused also on value-based care. So the way we partner with our doctors and our providers is not so much for them to just go in and bill you for every little thing under the sun. They actually get rewarded not for every prescription they give you or everything that they diagnose you with, as much as for the solutions they offer you with and the treatments. They get better, they get better compensation when they can show that they treated you, cured you, and sent you in the right direction. So hopefully that eliminates the constant need, because I don't know about you guys, I hate missing work, I hate missing, you're missing your kids, school activities, or basically anything in your personal life that gets interrupted for your health care. We all gotta take care of our health, but we all wanna take care of our health in a way that it doesn't disrupt our daily lives. And that's what we're really focusing on, to help you to live out your daily life without, dreading the thought of I need to get, 18 more blood tests and all these, prescriptions that I don't even know if I need or not. And then digitally enabled ecosystems and build their best health outcomes. The one thing I can tell you right now is we have what U.S. and World News, and we'll go over more in a couple slides down the road, U.S. and World News health reports as the best mobile app among any health carrier. I can tell you again, I wasn't a big believer in virtual visits, mental health care, anything like that. I was recently a victim of a aggravated mugging and assault. So I've been, I had some plates put on my face about a month ago. And it was a kind of a scary incident because I was out of town. I was with my cousins. We went to a Laker game. Of course, it happened in LA. And even though I'm from Southern California, we have the saying LA is kind of gross. And that day proved it to me. But I wasn't. Not only was I able to get into like UCLA immediately, they did surgery right away. But this is kind of scary to admit, but I've been struggling a little bit with the mental health care side of the fact that I was powerless I got mugged by about 7 or 8 people. You know, they broke all the bones in my face and took everything I had, and then beat my cousin to the point he couldn't open either of his eyes either. And the idea of coping with that reality of, man, there really wasn't a whole lot I could have done. You know, I was in a different situation, away from home, without all my friends, in a new environment. I was unconscious. Maybe within 10 seconds they hit me with a bottle in the back of the head, and I was unconscious immediately. So it wasn't even that I lost the fight. It was that I was genuinely mugged and didn't know what happened until I woke up in the ER. And the ability now to do maybe the mental health visits in the privacy of my own home, where no one would know about it, no one knows I'm talking, to kind of cope with the reality of, hey, you know, I used to think I was this big, you know, tough, macho, bravado, I can take care of myself in any situation, and that feeling of security was taken away from me. And the fact that you can see your therapist in the comfort of your own home, you can check I was able to look at all of my hospital bills, all of my claims, to see exactly how much I would get even before the hospital sent me the bills. That I can see my scheduled follow-ups, I can see my prescriptions all through my phone or my computer. That is a really invaluable tool that I think not enough people are really taking advantage of. So we have a little bit more on the Sydney app in a second, but going backwards for a second. So we talked about, you know, because we want to get you on Anthem. Hopefully your brokers will help, you know, find you the right solution through Anthem and through an association health plan through the Elko Chamber. But I really wanted to take one final deep dive on how these chamber plans work, because I know different people learn different ways. I tend to be a person that needs to talk about it and see it more, you know, then some people need to hear about it, some people need to watch something about it, some people need to do it themselves. So we put together a quick little video that hopefully is going to work.
The Vegas Chamber offers big benefits for small businesses, including access to networking, advocacy, and learning opportunities. But
apparently it's not going to work. And my marketing team managed to put this video together for me. They did not update it to say Elko, but I'll take responsibility for that. But ultimately, it's all the same thing. It's really.
You also have access to Nevada's fastest growing healthcare plan from Anthem. Association Health Plans, or AHPs, allow small businesses with 2 to 50 employees to band together to unlock lower prices and more flexibility in employee healthcare plans like a large corporation. Go to anthem.com/AHP to learn more. You can choose from a variety of coverage supported by Anthem's nationwide network of trusted providers. Online, on the phone, and in person, you can access care whenever you need it, however you want. With Anthem, you can focus on growing your business instead of worrying about health benefits. Anthem and the Vegas Chamber, partnering for better, more affordable healthcare. Get your quote today.
One exception, we're going to make a correction to that last slide where it said to get a quote, go to that website. No, to get a quote, go to your local broker. And whether that's Gwen, whether that's Morgan at A&H, whether that's somebody who's not in the room, we're just going to go with whoever you work with regularly. As long as they're connected with and working with Anthem, we should have no problem with getting you a quote for them. Or they should have no problem in giving you a quote, because ultimately they're going to end up coming to me anyways. So why choose an association health plan? So we went over the big picture, how they work, why we got here, you know, what the advantage is to the association health plans. But when we get into some of the details that you'll see as we start, you move further in the process. As I mentioned, we're going to get some flexible plan designs with fewer rules than ACA plans. You know, perfect example is there's less maybe regulations that require certain benefits on the large group plan designs. For example, every plan, whether it's for on the ACA, which is traditional small group marketplace, it includes pediatric dental, pediatric vision. And I mean, that's great if you're a kid under the age of 19, but if you're, 35-year-old male like myself, why would my plan have pediatric dental and pediatric vision in it? It doesn't make any sense. If you look at your plan, chances are if you look at the full 90-page document of what it covers, it's gonna say it covers dental and vision for you up till the age of 19. It's not a big difference in price, but that impacts the premium. When I first started with Anthem back in 2013, they used to have to line item it separately, and it was like 90 cents difference. Those little details like that, where we can take that out of the benefits for adults, that's like 90 cents it comes off, and different customizations that we're not allowed to do in regular small group plans because of government regulations. We can do that with large group plans through the association. Also, we're going to have choice of plan types. We'll have different options in terms of the number of plans you can offer your employees. With, depending on the size of your group, you can offer 2, 3, 4 different plans. You can base your contributions based on the least expensive plan. You can do it even across the board. You can get a little more creative when you go and offer multiple plans. So you'll have that flexibility to do that. And our new plans, this is new this year. Starting in July is when we're, the effective date start for this new association plan, is that we're now doing, it says lock-in premiums for up to 2 years. We're doing what's called a 2-year contract. And, sorry, we did go on do not disturb, so they leave me alone, but we'll jump right to it. So essentially what happens is when you get your quote, the quotes are gonna look similar to this. I know right now this is a lot of mumbo jumbo. If you look really closely, if you have really good eyesight, you'll see HMOs. You can tell this quote was created for a group in Vegas because we don't have HMOs up here. But it'll essentially, you get your plan name, it'll tell you what the product is, and it'll tell you what your rates are for every plan from July 2024, July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. And then it'll tell you if next July, so the one thing about these plans you should know is that no matter when you enroll, they'll be effective in July, and the entire association will not renew until July of 2026. So we will guarantee you the rates for the first year at this amount, and it'll tell you right here on the second half of the page, if you choose to renew next year, this is what your rates will be from July 1st, 2025 through July 1st, 2026. So for small businesses, we know that fluctuations in costs, especially maybe the unpredictability of healthcare premiums, can be a big burden. Not knowing, hey, every year when you create your budget, how much are you supposed to budget for your healthcare costs? You probably don't know until you get your renewal. And maybe it's good news, maybe it's bad news, maybe it's, something completely the opposite of what you were expecting. But with these association health plans, you can budget your worst case premium costs for the next 2 years. That'll help your business, create a better budget, provide some predictability and some, as I mentioned, stability. And the one thing I tell people, just because you purchase a plan between now and July 1st of next year, does not mean you're guaranteed and you're locked into to the rates over here July 1st, 2025. If come next year, you have a change in your business, you have a different number of employees, you've had changes to everyone's health circumstance, or you just go out and tell your broker to shop and you get a better deal, you're not required to lock in for the full 2 years. We're just telling you up front what your rates will be for the next 2 years. That way you can have some predictability. If you go out and shop it and everyone else tells you, hey, it's gonna be 15% more next July 1, 2025, then by all means take the renewal. But if you have changes in your circumstances next year, half your people were let go, or you hired 10 new people, or whatever the case may be, and you want to relook at the rates because what you're seeing is lower than what was originally quoted to you for next July, we can do that. But the important thing, we want to stress is stability and predictability. So it's a 2-year contract. That way, with the second year being, what do athletes have? They have like an option on their on certain years where they can opt out. It's kind of like an opt-out for you. We're giving you a 2-year contract with 1-year opt-out if you're familiar with, what you hear from sports athletes and football players, things of that nature. And the other thing you'll see is that with our association health plans, unlike your normal small group rates, what we're offering is what's called a composite rate structure. Whenever you have a big business, typically when you see it what the rates are, it's gonna tell you your costs are, this is your cost, it's an employee only, employee plus spouse, employee plus children, employee family. Small businesses, for some reason, because I focus on small business, so when I say we, I take it personally as well, because these are the businesses I work with. We're almost discriminated against in the sense that we're not given those options typically. We're given, you have to go onto a rate chart, and it's one cost for 25-year-old, one cost for 50-year-old, one cost for 40-year-old, and for a small business to then, with 8 employees, 6 employees, to figure out what it's gonna be to do contributions each month. If you have a 52-year-old employee, a 32-year-old employee, 27, 64, everyone's premium is different. You're doing a different contribution for everyone, a different payroll deduction for everyone. We're going back with, you'll see here, simple rates. It would be the same, $400, $300, $500, whatever that your quote comes back at for anyone who wants to enroll as employee only. If you want to do your family, whether you have 2 kids and a spouse, 4 kids, 1 kid, I have a couple Catholic and Mormon friends who they got like 11 kids, and it's the same price for them the same way as well. So, it makes it easier versus with the regular standard ACA plans you're talking about. It could be $500 for the husband, then you add up the $390 for the wife, $220 for one child, but I got a 22-year-old child, that one is $290. It can get really confusing. So we're trying not only for predictability and stability, but we're also going for some simplicity to make your life easier. And you'll notice, as I mentioned on the last screen, that quote maybe look like a HMO. Your quotes will look differently. They'll show primarily PPOs, because that's really all we sell in this market. And with our PPO market, as we mentioned earlier, not only are we covering every hospital in Nevada, 1,800 plus primary cares across the state, 3,100 specialists, and 2,600 plus mental health care providers, but you're also getting access to providers in Utah, providers basically nationwide with what we call the blue card. It isn't the physical blue card, it's a little card, a little suitcase they put on the bottom of your right-hand card that tells the provider, oh, I need it. If you go to a Utah, the provider will then bill Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield there. And as long as they're in network with Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield, Regents then takes care of everything on the back end with us. You don't have to do anything, but you get the benefit of access to care in Utah, access to care in Washington, New York, California, wherever it is you're visiting your family or traveling for work, or your kids where they're going to school out of state. They'll have access to care in their local, college community. And the pharmacy benefit we talked about, we have a 2-tier pharmacy network. Offers members more options to help them make better choices, give them more flexibility. Our normal plans have 1 tier of pharmacies, which in most cases works for everyone. Because you'll see here the normal tier is CVS, Save-On, Walmart, Target, Costco, Sam's Club, and Smith's Pharmacy. Normally on our ACA plans, that's it. We do have a 2nd tier of pharmacies that's still in network. Typically that means like if your copay is $10 for something at CVS, you can go to Walgreens if you want, your copay is probably going to be $15 instead. And so Walgreens is a network that's not available in any plans for small businesses other than our chamber plan. So that's exclusive to this offering. But again, the individual, how much you'll pay will depend on whether you go to a preferred pharmacy or a non-preferred. So some people, they're not that loyal to their pharmacy, they'll go wherever it's cheapest. Some people like, no, I like this pharmacy, I like this pharmacist, this place gives me the easiest time. I want to go to Walgreens, I don't care if it costs me $5. The important thing is you have the choice. And I talked about that mobile health app, we call it Sydney. Honestly, it's a lot of the same things you can do on Anthem.com, but these days it seems like more people are likely to go on their phone before they're going to go on their computer. So that means for single point of access, benefits, virtual tools. If I don't know what my copay is, a good thing that I've noticed on the app, in addition to helping you find doctors who are in network, if I wanted to know if I need an x-ray on my chest, like I needed an x-ray on my shoulder, and see, or I got a I got a weightlifter shoulder thing, so it took me like 2 years to get diagnosed. I got a bunch of x-rays and MRIs, and essentially what happens, is irrelevant, but I was trying to figure out how much it was gonna cost for x-rays, because I used to be on an HSA plan where I didn't have fixed copays. So what you can do is you can go in and type x-ray on the of the shoulder into where you go in to look for a provider. You can, it also says cost of care estimator. You can type in x-ray of shoulder or MRI of face, and it'll tell you if you go to this place, this is how much it's gonna cost. Or if you have a plan that has off-go payments, it'll tell you like your copay for this type of service, this type of service. So that way you're never guessing. Now granted, you're not the IT type, you can just always call us. You know, that's an option too. Your provider can usually give it to you, but we want to give you more resources, especially with the mobile app we have. It's pretty easy to use. I've used it a lot over the years as I've had, like I said, a string of needing to use it a little bit more. But as I mentioned, over there on the right, you'll see U.S. World News Health Reports has it as the number one rated mobile app. We got roughly 2 million people using it, 93% satisfaction. And actually 16 million members using it. 2 million have integrated their health records with it. So that way, again, I can literally see my blood test results from my physical from 2 years ago. So it really is a good tool to have for somebody who just cares about their health, or even just cares about their expenses, wanting to know how much am I gonna pay, or how much do I owe the provider. I'm gonna give you one other video they gave me to offer you guys on the app. So hopefully, for those of you who are more visual learners, that is, if it decides to work, maybe we'll just go back to okay. Maybe you were going to take my word for it today. Yeah. Well, worst case scenario, if you ever needed a demonstration, I don't have a whole lot of secrets in my life. As you can tell, I've shared my medical history with you guys. That I would be happy to show you how the app works using my own personal device. That's how much I believe in it, and that's how much I feel like it's really helped me understand. Like I said, I'm not trying to pay to the doctors or hospitals more than what I owe them. So I want to make sure what they're billing me is right. And you'd be surprised. There's been a few times where I've had to go back to an ambulance and be like, hey guys, you're telling me it's $2,000, but my insurance says you never billed them because there's no records of it in the app. So can you bill the insurance? And they're like, oh, sorry about that, you're right. And then a month later, they're like, okay, your $2,000 is $100. But that doesn't stop the 2,000 bill from coming. Like you have to tell them they billed you wrong, as opposed to, and then the insurance doesn't know they did it wrong if they never sent it to the insurance. The insurance doesn't even know it happened. So that's why I think it's important to just have some sort of access to your health records and access to what's been billed to your insurance. You will notice that we do have dental and vision included in the quote. And for some reason we started with vision first, so we're gonna go vision and dental on the quote. Honestly, it's 42,000 eye doctors and vision providers nationwide, 32,000 locations, 136,000 dentists, nationwide with over 556,000 locations. It uses our large group dental and vision networks. One is through IMED. You'll see here in the bottom some of the providers who take our vision providers, who are more the name brand ones. Lens Crafters, Target Optical, 1-800-CONTACTS, Glasses.com, Contacts Direct, things, providers of that nature. But also, when we take pride in, the reason we have so many eye doctors in network is more so because we contract with a lot of local optometrists and opticians or ophthalmologists, so you won't run into a situation. It's going to be really hard for you to find somebody who doesn't take our Blueview Vision. We also partner with IMED, so if you know somebody who takes IMED, they're going to take our providers, and you'll see the rates. The benefit to the dental and vision is that we're providing one rate across the entire state for dental and vision. Generally, the cost of care is a little less expensive for dental and vision in Las Vegas. our underwriting team created the rates based out of utilization in Vegas. So the rates are lower because they are Las Vegas rates, but up here in Elko. So you'll see that the dental and vision are gonna be more competitive than generally what you're gonna see in other places. And you can only buy the dental and vision, if you buy the medical, but if the medical makes sense, you should probably ask your broker to quote the dental and the vision as well, or to let you see those rates, because more often than not, the rates are gonna be less expensive because they're large group rates based out of Vegas compared to small group rates based out of Elko. And admittedly, this isn't something I've tried yet. Some people have tried to tell dentists, but we do have an orthodontia from home program. It's similar to what Invisalign does, but you know, you do all the measurements at home, and we have a couple different cool virtual dental options right up, you know, that are available as well. That'd be something you probably want to ask more information about, because almost everything that Anthem does, I can probably tell you from first and second hand experience. This is one I've only ever, you know, when somebody tries it, I always ask them for more information because I'm curious to learn their experience. I've never been afraid of going to the dentist, like my little brother, for example, so I don't mind going in person. And then when you're an employer, a small business owner, you'll have access to our employer access tool. I know our brokers in a lot of cases take care of a lot of the administration for you, but some people, like maybe if it was myself, I owned a business, I'm very hands-on. I want to know things. If I, you know, through employer access, you can log in and view your bill, or pay your bill. You can log in and make terminations. Somebody says, hey, I got married, I changed my last name. You can go in and change the last name. Everything done in employer access is live in our permanent system immediately. So this is real time. If you can get a copy of ID cards, you can terminate an employee, you can enroll a new hire, you can view your bill, you can pull a list of all the people who are enrolled on the insurance, essentially anything that you need to do from an administrative standpoint. Say maybe your broker's in a meeting like right now, but for some reason you needed this done at 12:40 today and you don't have time to wait for Gwen to get out of this meeting. Or you know what, I'm impatient with Morgan. Morgan, how dare you be in a meeting and not be sitting around waiting for my phone call 24/7. You can go into employer access and make the changes by yourself. And it's really, there's no instruction manual to it, but it's meant to be intuitive and easy to use. And honestly, it is. You know, I've done a lot of trainings on them, but a lot of it is here, I'll just show you. But once people show me, we do the training together.
Welcome. We're glad you've chosen us for your healthcare partner this year. We work tirelessly to ensure you and your employees feel empowered, understood, and confident in your care. We are committed to serving your employees across their entire health journey and address their full range of needs with a holistic view. We believe that when we consider the whole person and all the factors that influence their health, we can make lasting positive change. We can improve the health of humanity together. We are also dedicated to helping you streamline benefits administration through simple tools, apps, and the employer access site, unique to you and your business. It includes your plan information, employee details, and resources housed in one central place, so you can spend less time on healthcare management and more time focused on your business. Take a moment today to register and log in to Employer Access and get your experience started.
So it worked this time, the first time around, so I had to immediately stop talking and just take it while I was, you know, in a good mood. But with that said, like as I was saying, every training I've ever done with somebody who's curious on how to use employer access, we walked through it, and the number one comment I always like, wow, that was easy. I didn't know where to click, but now I do. I didn't think it would be that simple. It really is meant to be intuitive. Because like I tell you, a couple of years ago, we used to do manuals, and we would update the manuals every 6 months with instructions. And since then, it's gotten so much easier to use.
And will these slides be available for us to review and take a look at, or as far as like for example, I know the rates would be various depending on the number of employees, but like how would we proceed to go ahead and get some more information to
So, couple questions, and number one, yes, the slides, I'll make them available to, well, Morgan introduced me to Billy and invited me here for that, so I'll make sure they're available to the chamber, and Billy, we can send them over to you, that way you can send them out. We've already got legal approval for that. If you wanted to get a quote for your business, the easiest way, if you have a broker that you already work with, asking them to run a quote through the Elko Chamber, and if you don't, maybe refer to the Elko Chamber on getting a list of brokers you can work with. We try not to make suggestions where we have favorites, but we do occasionally get leads from it. We stopped doing direct sales 2 years ago, only because we don't really have the staff, or there wasn't enough need to keep permanent staff on hand. So whenever we get local referrals from businesses directly, we rotate them amongst local brokers. You know, but because they're far and few in between, usually people will go to their local chamber and say, hey, who's a broker in my community who can give me a quote? And you know, I'm sure Billy would be happy to point you in direction. I'm sure there's a couple ladies in this room as well.
So I can, with the list, if everybody makes sure that they sign in with them, I can email you the slides after I receive them, and then I can email you the list of brokers that are chamber member brokers.
Yeah, most
with
importantly,
with
right?
contact
Yeah.
information as well.
So, you know, powering through the last couple bits here before we open it up for questions. Just, we talked about the chamber plans. We also mentioned, you know, the normal path people are going through our health insurance for their employees is what we call ACA. There's a couple major differences to be aware of. We put them side by side. It'll be easier to see once you have the slides. But the main difference is the contract period up to 24 months for the chamber plans, as opposed to 12 months for regular ACA plans. The chamber plans do 4-year composites compared to the ACA not. The extended pharmacies, there is a requirement that with chamber plans, the initial payment be made through EFT. We don't accept a paper check for the first month's payment, but it's only for the initial payment. You could sign up for recurring payments after the fact, or you can make mail-in payments, make payments online, but there is that one requirement the chamber plans have that's unique to chamber plans, that the initial payment does need to be EFT. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward, and you can go over the full list of differences when we send this out. So, requirements for quoting. So, we have to go, in order to get a quote through the Elko Chamber, there are a few details that we're gonna need. There is a template, your brokers should have that already, but the information that's asked for on the template is all here. So we need the name and address of your business, and really name and zip code. We don't have to get that specific code, address. We don't have to have the full street address. Really what we're looking for is the name and zip code of your business. The company SIC code, for those of you who are unfamiliar with what that is, usually if you just tell us what industry or what type of business or services your business provides, we can back into the SIC code for you. So
Is it the same one that they use for workers' comp and
Yes.
social? Okay.
Yep. And you know what?
And you might have more than one depending on your business, so you would wanna talk to your broker about that.
Yep. And then a census with the details for all members interested in the plan. That census needs to include the first and last name, dates of birth, gender, and then zip code of the employee. If there's anyone who's iffy, or if you don't have maybe the first names of the dependents because they've never been enrolled before, go ahead and leave them off the census, because we can't quote anybody without the first and last names. What we're doing just to help to protect the viability of the entire association as a whole, because we're taking everybody, every business, one by one, and then adding them all up as a whole. We're looking at their health ratings to determine the rates. So, you know, generally speaking, I mean, there's no problem with paying claims, but you know, you want to have more healthier people than unhealthier people. There are some instances where, if we know, for example, a group of 5 people has 2 cancer patients, they're going to be rated in a way where on the chamber plan, where they're going to get a non-preferred rate, which basically tells me that they're probably going to be less expensive to go on the ACA plans. And there's instances where we try to project the risk, and the way we project the risk is by running everyone's information, the information provided to us through a national database that helps us project risk, project utilization, and that'll tell us, you know, who's going to be sort of a good risk compared to the average group, and who's going to be, hey, this group is really sick and they're going to have a lot of claims utilization and they'll be better off going on ACA. So we're going to have two different rates, preferred rates and non-preferred rates. And in instances where the non-preferred rates come to play, those will probably suggest moving to ACA, but we can't do that without this information. And if you don't have that information, we can't essentially put you in a category. If we can't put you in a category, we can't give you a quote. So if you have, again, somebody with dependents who you don't know their names, the trick of the trade is to simply leave them off. Because if you send it in with somebody says first name or child Smith, my quote team's going to come back, sorry, we can't do this, please provide the first name of child Smith, because we need the first name. And you might go, I've had these emails back and forth trying to convince them to do it, but once they see it, it's almost easier if you just simply leave them off for that time around until you get the name. You get that information later when they time to enroll. We'll circle back and see if it affects anything, but for the time being, if you don't have any information, it's better to give me no information than partial information. And then that last thing, so our tool that allows us to project risks, that national database, it only allows us to do to run against a database if a group has a total of 6 members. I'm not saying 6 employees. You know, 6 members, it could mean 6 employees, or it could mean 2 employees each with a family of 3. So let's say you have 3 employees who are all enrolling in single only. So because we don't have the ability to project risk on a group with only 3 members, we default them to the non-preferred tier grade. And what's going to happen in those instances, we're in the process, and I was hoping to have that process confirmed and completed by today, coming up with a 1-page health questionnaire. It's really, I've looked at what they're asking for, it's maybe like 6 questions. It'll say, hey, provide your name, you know, give me a quick little, do you have any of these diagnoses, and provide your personal, your date of birth, et cetera, and then it'll allow us to review that for those groups, and then depending on the information that's on those, could potentially move the group into a preferred rate. So we'll have questionnaires for groups that don't have a total of 6 members. Again, not 6 employees, 6 total members, but that is still pending. You know, they're trying to finalize that form because this is the first time in a while we've used this form. We had to create, especially with Elko in mind, and knowing that the businesses generally are a little smaller. Although you could get around that with the size of families, we wanted to come up with a creative solution that would allow groups smaller than 6 or 5 and under to also get the benefit of those preferred rates, to keep those rates competitive. But this is the first time we've done this, and we haven't used health questionnaires probably since before the ACA, so since 2013. So we had to go back to the drawing board on doing that and look at what we've done in the past. But I've seen what they proposed, and it's probably a 1-page, 5-question little survey, and you'll submit that along with your quote, and it's to help us determine whether it's preferred or non-preferred on those groups of 5 or less. So more information with your brokers is forthcoming on that. I was hoping to have that finalized today, but they told me give me a couple more days. So, you know, that might change by the time I do the evening presentation or tomorrow's presentation. I might be a lot more confident in it, but since you guys are the first ones, they just told me to hold off and just let them know it's forthcoming, it's not official. Basically what I'm saying is I don't have that questionnaire in my inbox yet, and I'm very much a believer, and I don't like to, you know, count my chickens for the eggs hatch. And then requirements for enrolling, the last thing here, is simply to sign up for the chamber plan. Your company must, you know, I put it at number 3, but first and foremost, be a member of the Elko Chamber. And we have a special affiliate. You do have to be a member of the Vegas Chamber as well. So again, reason being is there is some administrative bureaucracy things that the Vegas Chamber is taking care of us, so we're all under sort of their umbrella. But we created a special package with them that's called an affiliate membership. It's essentially a discounted rate for members who they know are likely never gonna use any of their benefits. So it's almost, you know, you're just paying that little added fee so you can get their health plan. That, the cost for the affiliate membership for the Vegas Chamber will range anywhere from, for a group of 2 to 4, for example, 2 to 4 employees, it's gonna be $50. I think for a group of 50 employees, it'll be $300. So depending on the size of the group, it's gonna vary anywhere from there. But again, the big thing I like to stress is even if it was, you know, you're the largest group possible with 49 employees, because it only makes sense, and we only encourage you to do the chamber plan if you're spending $300 with the Vegas Chamber, however much with the Elko Chamber, or you're already a member maybe, most likely. If you take those two memberships together, chances are your premium savings per month or per year is significantly more than that. You know, you save your money by joining the chamber and getting access to their health plan. So you spend a little bit more on the membership for these these chambers, but you save monthly on your premium. So other than that, you just have to be 2 to 50 employees to qualify, and it belong to one of the following industries. So either business services, trade, construction and manufacturing, wholesale and retail, health, legal, and professional services. And apparently it's 5 categories, not 4. I apologize. The last category is food, restaurant, and bar. So as you notice, some of these are pretty generic. Business services, wholesale, retail. Doesn't say what you have to wholesale, what you have to retail, what type of business. But as long as you fall into any of those categories, you know, you should be fine. So again, when you provide the details to your broker to quote you, they're gonna ask you for your industry code, your SIC code, or again, we can get that SIC code for you. Hint, hint, Google, if you Google restaurant, SIC code is gonna tell you it's 5049. You Google lawyer, SIC code is gonna tell you 8011. I tell all my brokers who don't know what that is, like, you know, all I'm doing is taking what you tell me and putting it into Google, right? Because it really is that simple. So as long as you give us the SIC code, if we provide you a quote, that means you're eligible. And I have yet to see a quote that somebody sent us where we don't give them a quote back. So with that, questions?
So just to clarify, 2 to 50 employees, that means them to be enrolled in not just whom we employ. Because you may have employees who don't want to sign on board.
Right, so a little bit of both. So in order to be eligible for a small group, which is what the association is geared towards, the maximum number of employees you can have is 50. But what we're looking at is the difference between maybe an ACA plan is you could have 5 employees but only 1 enrolled. The chamber plans require you to have 2 enrolled.
That's it.
So you would have to have 2 enrolled to be eligible.
So the very last section is that you have to be a Elko Chamber member and Vegas member. We are only an Elko, well, I'm from Arizona, but as far as being able to we're not members of the Vegas Chamber, does that make us ineligible for any of these ones?
So what I tell people is, generally speaking, get a quote, because you don't have to be a member to quote. If the quote's gonna save you $1,000 a month, and the affiliate Vegas Chamber membership costs you $200 one time, you do have to be a member, but you have to weigh the cons of like, well, should I pay $200 once to save $12,000 a year? You know, so you do have to be a member, but we tell people don't join until after you've not only gotten a quote, decided to enroll, but submitted your paperwork and been approved by underwriting. Just because we don't want to tell you to go join and then something to happen, you don't take the plan, and I know you spent that money for nothing.
Quick question too.
Yep.
She had asked about if you only have 4 employees, how many you would have enrolled. Does the 75% participation rule apply to this?
It does, but we're probably one of the most generous waiver acceptances out of everyone. So we, individual, Medicare, VA, TRICARE, you name it, it counts as a valid waiver. And if you don't think you're gonna need it, we can talk offline as for his suggestions, because we've got a couple.
I just wanna make sure you understood, you know, if you have 4 employees but only one wants it, we have to account for those other 3.
Yeah.
So
why they're
now,
not
let's say it
taking-
was a military and they would be eligible for VA, but don't necessarily participate, does that still count?
If they have access to it.
Yeah, so if they have like a
access to
VA
it.
card, then they don't need, they get a full waiver and they can, you know, it doesn't count against participation, they can still do it, so. So unfortunately, we haven't been able to do anything yet with the sole proprietor. We were doing them prior to the Department of Justice striking down the Trump administration's law. Once they struck that down, they struck out the ability for us to write sole props. I mean, unless, you know, somehow you, like I said, I've seen some people file as a sole prop and still have an employee somehow. I don't even question it, not my business, you know, but they need, essentially what you need to do is you need to have at least one other, outside of the owner, you need to have one other full-time W-2 employee, to be eligible. I'm sorry, the question back?
That was my question.
Oh.
I only have one employee. Thank
But
you.
yeah,
Oh, what about a multi-member LLC that doesn't have any employees?
we don't do owner-only groups, unfortunately, so you would need to have one, really the key, the emphasis is on one W-2 employee.
So if you had one W-2, but you could still get covered as a employer.
Yes, so if you had the owner and just one W-2, we don't do husband and wife, but like if you had a kid on the payroll, then that would
There
work.
might have been clarification for her, because I think she was assuming that she wasn't covered only because she only had one employee.
Oh, well,
She misunderstood, that's why.
yeah, sorry, so no, you could do the owner plus the one employee. But if you're, as the owner or the only employee, that's where we run into, or you as the owner and it's just you and your spouse, that's where legally our hands are tied. But if it's not, for some reason, they differentiate between a spouse and any other family member. So if it's, you know, like I said, if it's a child, if it's a family member of some other relation besides a spouse, that is also okay. But, okay, so we went into questions before I said thank you, but thank you everybody for your time. And any other questions, by all means, feel free to ask myself, Morgan, Gwen, Billy, whatever you guys need from me, we'll be here. Otherwise, we'll make sure we get out to the chamber and we'll be signing.